repeat the affirmation. I forgive everyone for everything.
I forgive everyone for everything.
And feel that energy dissipating. Feel that heaviness and that tension that you may have carried on yourself for years and years, because forgiveness is not for them. It doesn't absolve them of anything. It just means that you're going to free up the mental energy and the chains that you're really imprisoning yourself.
I want to start this podcast off by just thanking you for your support of me. Like, it goes a long way, and I really appreciate it. Just a subtle retweet, a subtle just message here and there, back and forth. Like, it's really interesting as I'm diving into a new way of being myself, and I'm going to consciousness coaching and retreats, and as opposed to the podcast being the main focus, it's so cool seeing who has supported the mission. And when I think about who has, like, you're at the top of the list. So I just really want to thank you for being you and supporting and all of that.
My pleasure, man. That's what it's all about, you know. I'm lucky enough to have an audience that has been gifted to me by the whimsies of life. So I like to, as much as possible, share other people that I think are doing incredible things, and you are and have done, and it looks like you're unfolding it into even more. So if I can be a little node that is able to magnify that, that's what I try to do amongst everything. So
yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, I met you today for the first time and immediately I feel an aura of peace and groundedness. Where does that come from?
People seem to say that a lot, so I guess it's a thing.
I guess it's true then.
Yeah, it feels like that to me. I have been always naturally stoic, even as a kid. I have like vivid memories of people getting upset about, you know, small things, small traffic or other, just like the printer doesn't work. And I remember seeing them lose their minds, and I'm like, what's happening here? Like, what are we doing? So I've always had that innate nature. If you believe in astrology, which you should, then my imprint is aligned with groundedness in general. So I've always had that within me, which was then magnified by the reading I did into Stoicism, practicing meditation, reading philosophy in general, and ultimately, I would say, accelerated in that groundedness and calmness over the last 2 years from faith in God and letting that really permeate everything that I'm doing. And when you have that combined with the philosophy of everything, and you read ancient writers who, you know, they've kind of figured these things out. Like, writers have figured these things out. It's not a new thing to be a human. And previous humans have been able to, okay, what's worth worrying about? Or like, how should you view the world in order to be happiest? Not that it's about chasing happiness, but I do believe that it will benefit your life if you chase peace and practice peace. And it's a skill. So luckily, with my innate nature of groundedness and peace, plus the philosophy reading and trying to practice what other people have written about, plus my own experience, plus faith in God, and then that has magnified into what it seems to be now.
Yeah, beautiful. Talk to me about the faith in God. Where did that begin for you?
So it's interesting because I was raised in a family that was generally agnostic, with some parts of the family, parents being pretty strongly atheist, and always prioritizing science, logic, biology, all those kinds of things, which are great and have their place. And then on the other side of things, at school, the best school was an Anglican school, which is a denomination of Christian. And I was forced to go to church, and also congregational singing in the church. And the singing was great. Singing hymns with your boys, and you're charging up and the organ's going, and there's that, you know, that energy. That's awesome. But the church side of things and the religious studies, whether it was because this was just a particularly poorly run education department or the school itself or just the teachers, there was no real education about what these things actually mean. And if you apply my scientific and logical perspective on parts of the Bible at the time, it was like, this doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? There's like someone watching everything, or, these miracles which we can't like imagine happening because of the laws of physics and things like that. And if I was ever to question things or be like, what does that mean? It was like, just believe it. And so this is something that many people that have religious families or religious contexts and environments is like, don't question it. What are you talking about? Just believe it. Just repeat it. And to my intellectual mind, it was like, well, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's silly. And I hate being told what to do. So I rejected it. And it was like, I'm atheist. It doesn't make sense. Blah, blah, blah for years. And then, because I was innately curious about the philosophy kind of things, this blurs into more esoteric teachings, and you begin to see and put together how the different religions have these common themes. And the esoteric teachings kind of behind these religions, and the metaphorical meanings of the Bible passages, and how your mind can relate to all of those things. And then testing some of those concepts and coming around to the different interpretation of what God is, which is the energy that connects us all. However you get into the weeds of how to define that or what religion is the perspective and lens that you view that through, that's like the simplest definitions. The energy that connects us all, that organizes all things and makes the incredible things happen that couldn't possibly just be the random soup of like all these individual things. That doesn't add up to me anymore. So I was just going down this rabbit hole of all those things, and things started happening in my life, coincidences, synchronicities, and seemingly impossible connections or people that came out, and experiences where it really just slowly adds up. And then you're like, okay, there has to be something that is connecting us all. And going back to my previous point, humans have kind of figured it out before. We're not the first human to live. There are smart people that have, there is some energy connecting us, and it's the energies, universe, God, which it is, like that is the thing. And then understanding how to work with that in your own life. And that's praying, gratitude, having visualization, and then like setting your energy up to a certain outcome, listening to your intuition in response to prayer or just in general. That is your higher self, your divine connection, your divine self that can guide you in all ways. And my life has significantly improved in measures of success, happiness, opportunities, peacefulness, the more that my faith in that thing has progressed. So that is the most scientific one-of-one experiment in my own life where I would be a fool to reject that. And it's not some like, turn your brain off, just believe it, because that was what I was told. And there are unconscious people that believe in religions or gods, and like they live a certain life where there is no divine connection, but they'll go to church and they'll read the Bible, but there's no like of that, there's none of that connection, and maybe they're unhappy and they don't have faith because of that. And so with the church and things, that can come between you and God in many different ways. And this is why we see wars fought in the name of God and based on interpretations of humans of old books and things like that. And some of it is good, some of it is great. The religious texts, if interpreted in a positive way, are awesome and great ways to live your life. But there are people that also interpret it in the wrong way, or a way that results in more negative externalities and actions and things. So that has been my experience with it all, coming from someone who was science, logic, all the rest of it. And now it's just a better way to live life.
Yeah. I remember stumbling across your content and feeling like, this is maybe a year ago, where I felt like I love that for Sol Brah and it could never be me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it just felt like you were taking it to the extreme, like God to the extreme. It felt like you were taking like synchronicities and raising your vibration to the extreme. I was like, what does it even matter? Yep. Like, why? Mm-hmm. And dude, I kid you not, I am now thinking in the exact same way. And I look back at myself and I'm like, oh yeah, like that's the way I used to view it. And now I see that the more that I've increased my vibration, the more that synchronicities flow into my life, the more love that I can flow into people's lives. If I listen to a worship music song as opposed to a rap song, what changes in my life? And if I do that on repeat, and then I tell my friends that, and I calibrate different statements, and then I use those statements, it's like, dude, I am so down the rabbit hole, and I've seen the impact of that in more success, in more love, in more, it's an incredible journey.
Yeah, it's just, this is what I talk about in my book. It's like the optimal way to live life. If you want success, peace, happiness, then this is the way to do it. And it only is going to help other people more. Ultimately, that's how all of this is, like you being an energetic node. Everything is energy. That's kind of just been, everyone agrees on that.
Yes.
To some point. So we are an accumulation of energy. We can, by thinking certain things, feeling certain things, and taking certain actions and saying certain things, change the energy field that we are, that our body is around, that our soul is attached to. Therefore, that energy field then permeating through the world has an effect on the other things. Just like someone that is really down on themselves, depressed, listening to terrible music, eating poor foods, because everything is energy, everything you put in your body or on your body or around yourself or in your home also has a level of energy. And this is why, like, I talk about cleaning products in the house, like just processed garbage, chemical things that you eat. It's about the biology that it affects and like the hormones and things like that. But it's also just the energy that you surround yourself. Why do you feel bad when your room's dirty and things? Like the flow of energy is all off. You have rubbish. That's low energy. It's all related, and it's just the better way to perceive the world, and you have control over that. And why would you not increase the level of energy that you have around you? Because the effects are so powerful.
And when you increase the effects, your own energy and the energy around you, you then are able to hold space for people whose energy isn't at that place. So it's not like you're just doing it for yourself. You do it because every person that you interact with is now better off by virtue of you clearing your own things.
Yeah. So I've felt that a lot is, as you said, you felt the grounded energy. If someone's losing their shit and I'm just there like, hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
The flight is delayed. Yeah. It doesn't matter. We'll get the next flight. It is what it is. Like, people suffer in their minds so much. And once you're conscious of that, once you just pop over that level, or like, wait, what was I doing? And being self-conscious on that, it never goes away, which is a good thing. And then you see it in other people. And so leading by example and literally just being in the energy can affect others, even with the stuff that you write. Like writing, even just tweeting, is encoding your energy into that. This is why I believe if you write tweets in anger or replies to some douchebag that's being annoying, and you let that emotion tweet back, that's going to get it back again. But if you're only sending them off when you feel like it's divinely inspired, you're in a great place, you're just walking in the sun and like, wow, those are the ones that get traction, because it's not always about just the letters or the information. It's about what you're encoding into that. And the same is true for books and movies and anything else that is an act of creation.
Yeah. And it's so interesting how when you are in that state of feeling love for yourself and love for the people around you and love for your creations, what transpires as a result of that. And I'm so curious about the synchronicities, or are there any particular stories that you can share that help highlight this? Because for me, this is what really made sense. I was like, okay, if I'm in an Uber and I tell this Uber driver this thing, and then a week later I have the same Uber driver, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll attach the story right here for those curious. It's like linked down below. But it's like, that to me, moments like that happening every day, miracles on miracles on miracles, allowed me to be like, okay, I understand, God. I understand.
It's real.
Yeah. So do you have any examples or stories that you could share that could really highlight this?
I wrote about synchronicities in my book. And so there's one illustration of that, which was just so far outside the realms that could have been coincidence. So I was in an area in Australia that I don't usually go to, some farm shop or something, and I'm just walking down the road and I'm thinking about things. I'm thinking, how can I, like, what's going to be the most impactful way for me to deliver content? Like, why, like, what does God need of me right now? And I get this feeling back of, he needs you to say the things that most people are scared to question, usually in the health world. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I have an audience. I employ myself. I'm in a position that I can share things and question narratives that some people aren't. And it's also what I believe. Like, if I come across some information that, okay, that doesn't add up with the hospital narrative, the big pharma narrative, then yeah, I have a responsibility. If you feel something, if you believe something is true and you're too scared to say it and you feel like you should say it, but you don't, that's a bad path to go down. That accrues negative karma. It's just, it eats away at your soul on the inside. So I'm not doing that. So I get that thought back. Okay, cool. And that's the way this connection with God works sometimes, is you'll ask questions, wait for some kind of feeling, and then it comes back. It just appears in your head. And it's like people, oh, you're just talking to yourself and logicking it out. It's like, maybe. But when you think about things, hold that thought in your head, usually it comes back pretty quick once you've tapped into this intuitive self. So that comes back pretty much 2 seconds later. There's a number plate, which is 444, which is like, yeah, recurring numbers happen pretty much every day for me. When I got out of the car, when I first got to Austin, it was 111. When I landed, it was 11, you know, just things like that, which is like just little reminders, little constant, like, cool.
You're on the right
got
path.
you back on the right path. So I think, wow, cool. That was confirmation. You know, I'm in a random place that I never usually go. And there was here right at the second that I'm asking for some confirmation of how to conduct myself in my career, whatever. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. And then like 2 seconds later, there's another car and the number plate reads 999 SB, Sol Brah. And underneath, like on the number plate itself, there's some words, sometimes they're a little bit different on number plates, from another world. I'm not kidding. I'll show you the picture afterwards. And I was like, holy moly, you know?
Holy God.
Yeah, holy God.
Holy God.
And that was just a coincidence, mate. Like, get out of here. And so I was nearly crying. I was just like, whoa, and that's the most recent one, and that's what I wrote about. But these things where it's like you'll have some realization, ask a prayer, get something back, boom, some synchronicity. As I said, I've been nomadic fairly the last couple of years, and I'll just take serendipitous walks in a new city or even just around. And so many times I'll be thinking about, how do I tackle this problem, or what should I do next? And then a sun logo will just like pass across my, if I'm in an Uber and I've been on my phone doing some content, and then I'll think, how should I do that? Maybe I should do this. And then bang, like sun logo, soul, something like that. It's like every few days. And now it's not even a whoa moment. Obviously it is, but I just know that that's how the world works. That's how God works now. So I just go, cool. Thanks. That was a confirmation. I'm going to do that. And that's going to work out the best. And that has been the way that I conduct things, where it's like I'm just guided and it works out. So
let's keep being guided.
Yeah.
And it's like the sun hasn't been out for a week, and now you come to town and it's the sunniest day of the year.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah,
that is God sprinkling in some magic.
It's happened so many times in places that I've gone to where I don't even check the weather anymore, like ahead of time. I don't check the weather app, because even if it says like, yeah, it's meant to be rainy next week, when I get there, at least for a few hours of the day, you know, sunshine, and people go, you always bring the sun with you. And I'm like, yeah, yes, I do. And the more you believe it, that's the other thing. If you oh, nah, it's just like a coincidence, like the sun, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But because I believe it and because I reinforce it more in my own mind, that's permeating that energy. The thing is like shamans, allegedly, some can control the weather. And how would that work? It's by increasing the energy of your energy field so much that your thoughts have such a powerful effect on the energy of the weather that what you visualize can have an actual effect on the 3D field. I haven't seen that happen. I've only read about it in books. You know, the Rain Man is like this shaman that villagers will bring in. And sometimes it's about bringing harmony to the land again. If the energy fields are so out of whack or something negative has happened there, sometimes just nature doesn't grow and all the rest of it. But I believe, not that I'm saying I'm controlling the weather, but if I believe it, then, or not that I'm controlling the weather, that just wherever I go, the sun follows me, and I reinforce in my head, the higher the chance of that happening. Of course, that's what you want, right? So I choose to believe those things.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is we so readily accept today that the energy of one person in one location can affect the energy of other people based on the internet, based on the thoughts go from your head to, and your heart to
millions
of people, right? And that is something that we accept as normal. It's like, that is the most out there concept in the world. If I explained that to somebody 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, what you're saying makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. You have to be willingly blind to the normal magic of this world to think that way. And it's so much better if you just drop the seriousness and you drop the questioning and they're like, where's the scientific study of this and that he's controlling the weather and everything. It's like, just believe in the magic.
Yeah. What opens up when you believe in the magic?
Anything you want. Anything you want. You know, the first level of this is limiting beliefs with, I couldn't do that. I couldn't start a business. So-and-so can do that, but not me because blah, blah, blah. I couldn't bench that much. I couldn't get slim. All these things is like, where does that come from? Usually other people, or no one's ever told you that your capabilities or possibilities in life. But if other people are doing it, then it's possible in this physical reality. That's like something you can just, someone else is doing that. Oh, so it's possible. So I technically can do it. And just expanding the mind. Like that is just one level of like allowing magic into your life. And if you don't do that, then you're just going to experience a life that's so limited in so many different ways and like full of anxiety, fear, disappointment, all of these things, which the majority of people accept as just the way life is because they've learnt it from other people and they've never been exposed to other perspectives. But the more ridiculous magic that you allow into your life, the more happens. That I'm not writing these rules, I'm not creating them, I'm just observing and living and then commenting and sharing and like, hey, this is what's happened for me. I may seem crazy to you, but try it. Like at least try it. What do you have to lose, really? Like, but that's the thing. People think they have something to lose, but you don't. Only maybe the perception of other people of you.
Exactly. And what is that really?
Nothing.
Exactly.
It's not a thing.
Exactly. And so take me through the surrender of yourself to this way of being more and more.
Yeah. So as my faith grew, it was obvious that I wasn't really calling the shots as such. You know, there's the principles of Stoicism, control what you can control. I was showing up for years writing. I was training my body. I was disciplined in what did I eat. And discipline, even the wrong word, because everything that I cook is really yummy. And it's like not a big deal.
Difficulty.
That's what I always say about diet. Once you learn how to cook and actually what to eat. Tasty, yummy, energize you, etc. So I was doing that. I was controlling what I could control. But there's obviously a lot that you can't control. How other people will react to your content, who comes into your life, who wants to work with you, all of these things, like where it's shown in the algorithm, all of that. Something else is controlling that. And so it's simultaneously a faith that now that I have this connection to God, as long as I follow my intuition, which is really the direction of your higher self, that's going to lead you to the most positive outcome or where you're meant to go, your path, your destiny. And the more that I followed that, the more success happened and the less worry about it all, because I'm being directed. And so at a certain point of being directed and getting intuition to, hey, send a message to Danny and saying this, like I've had that. And then it's anyone that I send a message to, oh, I wonder how that person's doing. I'm just going to send them a message. Or if I see someone's content, I've never talked to them before, but I get the feeling to send them an encouraging message. And then I was with my buddy Marcel recently in Miami, and he had the first message I ever sent to him as his lock screen. And that was like years ago. And it was something like, hey man, you have a promising career ahead of you if you so choose it. And it's not getting in people's way and telling them what to do and framing it as a way of just like, hey, this may be a little out there or whatever, but I just have this feeling that I need to say this to you. Take it or leave it. Done. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm allowing myself to be a conduit of God through myself to act on other people. And if we can allow the intuition to guide ourselves to do that, then better things and amazing things and magical things are going to happen. So I just did that more and more. Even something like give that person a compliment. I should tell him, like, I don't really like his hat, but you get the thought, I should tell him I should like his hat. And then you tell him you like his hat and he's like, wow, my son passed away recently and this was his hat or something like that. And it's like, there are so many of these layers and everything that if you just drop the overthinking and the anxiousness and I need to do this and I should react because my ego doesn't like it, that I'm not performing in this category. And like, there's so many, that's the other side of it. But these intuitive actions and having faith in things, like that just unfolds where now I don't worry about things. As I said, I've always been grounded. Worry doesn't help anything, even if you like want to control things. Like think about a year ago or any period of your life where you've worried a bunch. Would you have had a better experience of life if you didn't worry? Yes. Did the worry make you any marginally safer or better off? No, it doesn't. Like that's just the cold hard facts. So don't worry anymore. And I always understood that from a young age, but with faith and with just rolling with the punches, it is what it is to everything. Let the magic flow. All of that is just a superior way to live life.
It truly is. Now, someone's listening to that and they're like, I would like to live more like that. What do you suggest them to actually do in their day-to-day life?
You have to start telling the truth radically.
That is huge. That is number one.
Yeah. And that can mean telling the truth to your partner, telling the truth to your friends. Do you want to go to the bar? No. Nope. No, I don't.
And also any place you are omitting something because you're like, I'm not saying the full truth and that's okay. Like omitting is also lying.
Yeah.
It's
a version of lying.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot. So mental anxiety is usually the dissonance between how we're living and how we feel like we know we should live, or how we truly think we should live. And the dissonance occurs when we're not doing that and we're working in an office when we'd rather be outside. We're in a relationship, we know that it doesn't like serve us anymore. The family's picking on you. And so, you don't move out because X, Y, Z, like there's all these things. And the dissonance is every day that you have to live with yourself of not being brave enough to say what you think. And that eats away at you. And if you have that eating away at you on the inside all the time, you can't think about anything else. You can't have this intuitive connection to God, because this is the whole thing about sinning comes in. Your sins eat up your, like they make you shameful. They make you feel upset about yourself, small, non-magical, unmagical. And all of that is going back to energy fields.
Shrinking you.
and lowering your vibration. The higher your vibration gets, the easier it is to tap into that intuitive self. So if you have these constant stream of thoughts based on the actions that you do that are not aligning with your true self, you're constantly lowering your energy. And it's going to be very hard to break up into this magic, oh my God, everything, faith. That's where it happens. So if this is low down, it's going to be very hard to break into that. If you're eating Chick-fil-A all the time, you're fueling your body with low vibrational stuff, killing your gut flora with processed drinks, all of that is, again, your energy's lowering down. You have more anxious and depressive thoughts. And this is where, the demons that people have, whether demons are actual entities or the feelings that we get from living in a certain way, the function is kind of the same. They're some level of sway over you that's trying to direct you to a certain negative path or makes it hard to do the right thing. Like there's this force that's bringing you down and making you feel shit and make you angry at your friend and things like that. That's all this low energy that occurs. And all of that could just be because you're eating McDonald's too often, and you don't have the energy and capacity to elevate yourself. And so what was the original question? I forgot where we were.
Bring yourself into a higher vibration state.
High vibration is how you get to that point. And then it just happens kind of naturally. And then you get these little thoughts. And then also the second part of that is be open to anything. Be open to any thoughts, tell the truth radically, and follow whatever pops into your head while you are elevating your vibration. And that can be gratitude as well. In any moment that you feel anxious, fearful, depressed, shameful, it's like, all right, what am I grateful for right now? It's tough. I don't feel grateful, but what am I grateful for right now? And it's so simple. Like, what do I feel love for? What do I love to do? Thinking about those things. And then suddenly you do. And again, that is where that access to the end, like the greatest inventors of all time are people that figured out how to exist on that energetic wavelength where they're just being beamed information. And Nikola Tesla said it, his brain is a receiver from God, from the universe. It's not him being like, oh, this is the best way to make, it's just he's at such a level and he's just vomiting it out. Vomit, wrong word, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The same is true for the intuitive thoughts that guide you and direct you in your life. So that is how I would do it. That's how I have done it.
Yeah. What is your role and responsibility in leading young men? The army of people who follow you, it's almost like an army at this point.
Yes.
What is your role?
Soul Squadron.
Yeah. What is your role and responsibility in leading the Soul Squadron?
I've always naturally leaned to leadership at school. I have a vivid memory of, it was an athletics carnival. I was the captain of the particular house faction that we were, and it was a competition between the factions. And I got everyone in the middle of the field at the start of the athletics carnival. And I had this speech that I'd written the day before, or the night before. And the consequences of the athletics carnival, it's not like you're going to war, but I felt that in the moment. And that's what I created with the speech. And I was just galvanizing their energy and motivating and encouraging them in this way that I knew how to do, public speaking. And I think, like I later on at school reunions, I had kids that I didn't even really know who were like the youngest ones when I was the senior, and they'll come up to me and be like, "Dude, I remember that speech you gave." That was like a highlight of their sporting career in that, and I was like, "Dang, like that's a really cool impact to have." And I think looking back, that was just something that I did, and I didn't know how that would unfold to be similar to the place that I'm in now, where I can have the capacity and knowledge and awareness and consciousness to galvanize the energy of people that might not realize it within them. And that's what I'm here to do. That's what I believe that my destiny is. And going back to following God's orders, that seems to be what I'm being directed into. And as I was telling you, I love it. It's awesome. Leading through humbleness and just like, hey, everyone can do this. I'm not special, like everyone's special. We're children of God, but I'm not like this figure that needs to be separate from everyone. And just showing you like, I can do it. You can do it as well. You can do anything you put your mind to. Being in a position where I'm healthy and can inspire and improve people's health, and through the stages of my life that have led me to understand the human body, consciousness, spirituality to the degree that I do now, I have much more knowledge, gravitas, and understanding to share. And so it's my responsibility to do that.
When did you realize that was your destiny?
I would say it tracked pretty consistently with how strong my faith got. Just like everything with Sol Brah, it's been like a slow build up of consistency and things. But then looking back on other parts of my life where I was just generally looked on, like it feels natural to lead for me, whatever. And giving out the reins and having faith. And then it's like, all right, we're here to do something. Someone's got to do this. So why not me? Like someone has to shift the human consciousness away from the models of health and living that are not serving us anymore, that are causing so much pain and disease. And I don't mind being that person if that is my destiny, if that's what it feels like I'm here to do, and that seems to be what's playing out.
Yeah, it's really powerful. So what are some things that people can do that don't seem overwhelming to them right now? Like maybe the version of myself a year ago who was reading your content and being like, this seems out there. Yeah. What are some things that people can do to shift their health and take more power and control over their being, and which will in turn raise their vibration? Right.
Go outside right now. You're watching this on a TV. I see you all on a TV or computer or laptop or phone on the sofa like this, or wherever you are and you're inside. Get outside, even if it's nighttime. No, but that advice is really the more time you spend outside, the more time you're in natural sunlight, you're on grass, dirt, sand, in the water. You won't be watching our podcast in the water, but the premise is the same. The more you can do that, the more you're aligned with nature, the more your energy field is going to be electrically resonating with the way the world is meant to work, the better your biology is going to function, and the more your intuition energy is going to fire. That's, get out of the house as much as possible. Work outside if you can, lift outside if you can, exercise outside if you can. It's another thing with modern gym culture. So being in the office all day under blue lights, then okay, now it's time to exercise. Got to get my health on. That's great. I did that. I still do that. Indoor gyms. Try to avoid them, but still happens. But I'm outside most of the day. But in office culture, you're inside all day, and then you go to the gym, which is also under blue light. And I would argue that you're going to be healthier if you just do push-ups and pull-ups on the rings that are outside. It's pretty easy to get your own rings, push-ups and dips you can do on anything. That is like a very easy change, that if your only exercise time is in the indoor gym, then shift it outside. Spend as much time outside as possible. On the weekends, don't veg out and watch movies and go do things indoors. Like, I've been a 9-to-5 office worker and actively planning to have a day where you're hiking all day. Nothing is going to be more impactful than that. As I said, telling the truth, forgiving others. Repeat the affirmation. I forgive everyone for everything.
I forgive everyone for everything.
And feel that energy dissipating. Feel that heaviness and that tension that you may have carried on yourself for years and years, because forgiveness is not for them. It doesn't absolve them of anything. It just means that you're going to free up the mental energy and the chains that you're really imprisoning yourself because you're harboring the resentment. It could be forgiving the guy that cut you off in traffic. I forgive him. He doesn't know. He was unconscious. People do not do things unless they are unconscious. They don't do these terrible things unless they literally just don't know better, don't have the IQ to understand, don't have an emotional intelligence, a spiritual awareness to treat you that way. And so you go, okay, I'm not going to forgive them and then continue that relationship. I'm going to forgive them. One of Jesus' teaching, forgive them for they know not what they do. It's because they just don't know. And so if you think that they know and that they're seeing you and being like, I'm just going to screw him over, I'm going to cut him off, like, it doesn't happen. There are things that you have done, you and I have done to other people that probably really hurt them. But we were just doing the best we can. We have a very easy time seeing in ourselves, I was just doing the best that I could. Like, I didn't mean to do that. But then in other people, we see them do that and be like, mate, you were very conscious of that and you did that on purpose. You know, it's this double standard, but realizing that we're all kind of operating under the same things. The forgiveness becomes, I'm going to release that energy that's tied up in that. Forgiveness because being angry, again, lowering your energy levels all the time. And if you think about, this person did that to me years ago, it's actually worse to think about those thoughts of revenge and whatever. And that's like re-injuring yourself. So this is another thing with the mind. The mind, the subconscious mind, has no understanding to know the difference between real events and imagined events, or even perceived events. Whatever you're visualizing, whatever you're consciously thinking, that might as well be as if someone's actually doing it, in terms of the emotional response, in terms of the energetic response, and in terms of how your brain perceives yourself after going through that situation. So if you're harboring resentment because someone did that to you years ago, and then you're thinking about what they're doing to you over and over and over again, it's like you're putting yourself through that same hell over and over again. So forgiveness becomes this key that unlocks all that. So telling the truth, forgiving everyone for everything, that's not necessarily health, but it is health.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say, your mind health is number one. Your spirit health is number one. And this such an interesting thing is you post shirtless pictures all day long and you're jacked out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
And it's simply a way to get people to look internally. That's how I view it. I'm like,
somewhat. I will say.
No, I say from the perspective of you're bringing people in with the body you have, and then you're really teaching these deep spiritual truths about saying the truth, about forgiving people.
Yeah.
And that's where the real gains are from where I'm standing.
Yeah. It unlocks everything else in your life. And all of these little kind of steps all elevate your consciousness, excuse me, to the point where you no longer run into these issues. Because the quicker that you forgive someone for something that happens, eventually there's no perception of a wrong that's been done to you. And you don't take anything personally anymore. And that's a really interesting place to be, because then nothing upsets you. And you're constantly in a state of gratitude and appreciation for everything. And then anyone that comes around you is like, whoa, what's this guy doing?
He loves life?
Yeah. He's happy?
I want to be around that person more.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to be in more joy.
And the more of that you can concentrate and emit, the more magnetic you become, and the more incredible situations you attract. Magnet, attraction, laws of attraction, it's all connected.
What were some of the most important affirmations, or what are some of the most important affirmations today that you repeat in your mind over and over again? This is like the programming for your software.
Yeah. So it's interesting because there was a stage where affirmations were important and present in my life. And I wouldn't even say now that they're something that I read my affirmations. Just it's not a part of my routine.
Yeah.
But I have in the past. I forgive everyone for everything. I have unlimited energy. That's a really nice one. If you feel tired, we commonly go, "Oh, I feel so tired. I'm so drained." When you say these things, you're reinforcing that patterning in your mind, your subconscious. Instead of that, "Oh, I'm so tired. I have unlimited energy. I have unlimited energy. I have unlimited energy." And say that like a madman in your room. And then you realize like 2 minutes later, you'd be like, "Okay, let's go." All of that is mental control. And affirmations are this way to use words, symbols, to charge yourself with energy to repattern mental beliefs. That's all they are. And you can feel silly. A financial one is, I think Florence Shin said this as I claim what is rightfully mine. I claim what is right. I allow what is rightfully mine to flow effortlessly towards me. And they can be magic spells. That's how they feel. And that's how they operate in a lot of ways. Another one that rather than me giving you my affirmations, I think it's important to explain how specifically for your life, what do you struggle with? What do you find yourself in self-referencing that is bad? Like, I have poor hair. I have low energy. I never sleep well. Take the opposite of that and then say that. Even if it's not happening now, even if you don't believe that it can happen right now, override your mental and subconscious with the opposite positive affirmation. So if you have terrible sleep, you wake up after another night of terrible sleep. Instead of thinking, "I'm a poor sleeper," I sleep perfectly every night. I sleep perfectly every night. And you can change the language, however is more suited to you, what words you like better, whatever flows off the tongue better, and whatever you feel that you can put the more energy behind is how you should structure these affirmations. Don't use any reference to like the negative. Don't say, "I never get sick," because by saying the word sick, you're kind of putting energy towards that. It's just always better to take the opposite. Say, "I'm incredibly healthy all the time. I'm incredibly healthy all the time." And that's how I do affirmations. That's how I've done them. And they're a very powerful tool, especially when you're first getting into these kinds of concepts.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think that no one would actually say, "I am sick" over and over and over again. Nobody in their right mind, if I said, "Dude, say that to yourself," people would be like, "I don't want to say I'm sick over and over again."
Hey, people do say that.
I know. People do say it unconsciously.
They say sick. This is one of my wars.
Yes.
That I have on not my wars. One of my missions is to get people to stop saying "that's sick." "Oh, dude, sick. That's so sick, bro." It's everything. And I used to be the same. It's anytime there's something remotely cool, it's sick. And what does sick mean? Well, it's not that good. You want to be healthy. You want to be vital. You want to be incredible, fantastic, wonderful. Any of these other positive words, because not only is it reinforcing this sickness, it's just lazy. It's intellectually lazy. You don't know any other words, bro. You just know sick, and everything that happens to do with anything is sick. That was a sick football game. That was a sick party. Like, cease it. Yeah. Cease it.
And another thing on this topic is when people laugh now, after they laugh, they say, "I'm dying."
That's another one.
Okay. What are we dying? We're alive.
I'm
right
living.
Now. I'm living. And the reason why I did this, the reason why this has popped to mind for me is because I started doing muscle testing with calibrations with David Hawkins' work. And I want to do more content on this, but Maps of Consciousness Explained is the best book I recommend for this. And basically laughter on an 1,000-point scale calibrates at 800, which is pretty close to enlightenment, basically, or is enlightenment. "I'm dying" calibrates at 0. Really? And so what is happening here? Well, somebody is reaching a very high energetic state that they can't hold, and thus they are feeling this feels too good. So therefore I need to make the experience worse.
Yeah.
And so when somebody says this is sick as a way to say this is cool, they're like, it can't actually be that cool. It can't actually be that incredible because my state has to go down to sickness to feel what I'm actually feeling in my day-to-day.
Wow.
Yeah, it gives you a new framing and lens for why people are actually doing this, because they can't actually hold the vibration of something magnificent.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense to me. And it's one of the biggest problems that people will struggle with is just simply not allowing themselves to experience happiness and greatness.
Yes.
That's too good to be true.
Oh,
Why? Why is it too good to be true?
that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why
Believe
is this?
it just happened. I always, there's no other thing to believe because that thing just happened. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Ridiculous.
And so how do we become more conscious of this, of these words that are shaping our reality and our vibration? How do we become aware of this if someone's listening to this right now?
Well, in my own life, I just call out my friends that say sick. And I'm like, what'd you say? Is this sick right now? And you go, oh, it's healthy. It's healthy. It's really just being aware of it and being aware of any negative self-belief, even if you're not saying it. When am I thinking like I'm a failure? Just being aware of it. Once you're aware of it, you can say the opposite positive in your head or aloud as an affirmation. And then slowly, with more consciousness and more awareness, it happens less and less, ideally. Like that's what I see. That's what I see in my friends who maybe I've called it out to get them to just jar it from me. Because it's unconscious. Again, they're not doing it on purpose, and therefore you shouldn't judge them or anything like that. It's just they're not aware that they're doing it. It's been some programming from our society or whatever. So being aware in yourself, moving it from unconscious to conscious, and then doing the best from there. Don't beat yourself up when you catch yourself being unconscious.
Uplift yourself.
Uplift yourself. When you're shameful and regretful and angry at yourself for doing the thing, then your energy level is dipping again. Instead, be happy that you caught yourself and be happy that you were conscious about being aware of where you were or where you could improve.
Yeah.
That's a much better way to frame it.
Why do people have trouble accepting that life could be enjoyable?
Low self-worth. If you have, again, it's usually childhood. It's usually that they were never around people that believed in them, and they were told by their parents, "Oh, you're worthless. You could never do that. We're the Smith family. The Smith family don't do that kind of thing. Like, that's not about us," or whatever it is. And then when you internalize that and you have no other reverse positive influence, you just accept that. Ducks imprint on the first thing that they see. It's the same imprinting of our malleable childhood brain. And if the inputs we're given is you're worthless, you can't do anything, it's like beep, boop, 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 and it gets imprinted. And so when things are good, it's self-sabotage occurs. The external environment doesn't line up with the internal perception, so our brains just reject that. And we act unconsciously to bring our external surroundings back to how we feel about our insides. And a lot of the time, that is low self-worth. I don't deserve this. I'm not good enough. Therefore, I'm going to get rid of all the things that would line up with I am good enough. I am deserving of love. I can do this. And you get rid of all that, the other things, because there's a mismatch. And this is why everything comes back to the mind first, the beliefs you have about yourself first. Otherwise, without that key, nothing else can happen.
Really powerful. Talk to me about semen retention.
Oh yeah, good segue there.
I'm talking to my girlfriend today, and we're opening up your book. It's like, talk to Sol Brah about semen retention.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you practice it?
No,
not at all.
and this is an example of something where it's like, Sol Brah is crazy for doing this. And so if I say Sol Brah is crazy for doing this, that likely means that in a year, about.
Yeah. Well, after this dialogue, you'll be like, I'm in.
Yeah. Sell me on semen retention.
Okay, so male sexual energy is creative energy. Sex is the ultimate act of creation. We create a new life. So sexual energy is our creative energy. And our creative energy and sexual energy is gated by how much we are ejaculating. Because semen itself has Jing energy, what the ancient Chinese called Jing energy. All fluids in the body have Jing energy, but semen is the most strong in this force. And Jing energy is a version of Qi energy. Qi energy is the ancient Chinese explanation of all the energy that permeates through everything. If someone has high Qi, then they have a strong aura, a strong life force. Through ejaculation, we lose that Jing. We are depleting our life force. We are depleting that essence. If you look at it from the biological standpoint, semen requires many nutrients, vitamins, minerals, calories to create. So if you're constantly depleting that once a day, twice a day, as a lot of young men are, then you're losing all of these nutrients, vitamins and minerals you're eating, and then it's just leaving you. And in an ideal world, that is then fertilizing an egg to become a child. And that's great. And that's what the biological organism is meant to do. That's what the ejaculation is for. The issue lies today where young men are watching porn, or even if you're not watching porn, masturbating and just ejaculating into a tissue or God knows what else. This is, I think, one of the most pressing issues facing young men today because it depletes their life force. Their testosterone lowers, the prolactin levels increase after ejaculation. Everyone knows the feeling after ejaculation of, okay, I'm good. I'm good for a bit, you know? Like that's how it feels compared to the couple minutes before that point where you're, you know? That is the most obvious example of what's happening. So therefore, semen retention is the conscious choice to limit ejaculation in order to magnify that creative life force and that sexual force and the sexual essence within yourself. There's several layers to that. The first, of course, is I would recommend for no one to masturbate and just watch porn. Like none of that garbage ever. There's demons involved in that. It's terrible, terrible industry. You don't want to waste your time. Full stop. Everyone can kind of get around that. When you do that, you're going to feel like your testosterone is higher. You have more energy for everything. You can improve the rest of your life in various different ways. That's fairly obvious. When you're in a relationship or having regular sex and then choosing semen retention, that's the next level. It's where you consciously stop before ejaculation and you cultivate the control of holding the ejaculation within you and shifting the energy to go up the spine instead of leaving the body. And you're keeping that energy within the microcosmic orbit. That's what it's called, is that energy cycle that flows up the spine, top of the head, and then down again. And if you do that consistently, where you're not ejaculating physically, you attain this energetic orgasm with practice, where ejaculating feels pretty good for 10 seconds also. These energetic orgasms that you can have access to is the same pleasure, but multiplied throughout your body and up your spine. And it doesn't go away. If you can hold that energy and like just be in that space and and that's more so what girls experience when they have sex. But it's totally possible for the guys as well. The Multi-Orgasmic Man by, that's the book name. You can look that up.
Could you pull that up, Jamie?
Yeah, please, Jamie. That is where I learned about these kind of practices. David Daida talks about the principles of semen retention. So there's your body has more energy and nutrients to nourish itself and do what it needs to do because you're not depleting yourself all the time. You're cultivating your sexual essence. You're accessing these energetic orgasms as well. Like that's one of the arguments. It's like, well, I want to have this pleasurable experience with my girl. It's like, but there's more, like even if your highest directive is pleasure, which it shouldn't be, there's more pleasure on the other side of this once you're able to experience shifting the energy up and into the spine and just like keeping it here.
How long does that take?
How long's a piece of string? It's like, it's whatever you would allow and how much you practice and, how easily you have an affinity towards these things. And like meditation in general, if you're very conscious, you meditate, you're in tune with your body, it's going to happen a lot quicker than anyone else, right? So, but the other side of it, which I think is really important, is the way that it grounds you and it centers you, because you attain a level of calmness, intensity, and a connection with your partner, which is impossible otherwise, in my experience. Because the raw masculine energy that you have access to when you don't ejaculate and you just keep that energy within you, you can just hold hands with your partner and feel the energy coursing through you and through her and just like really be with her and appreciate her and love her for just that moment and this like burning fiery passion, which gets stronger the longer you do these periods of semen retention, to the point where like you can feel like you're having sex just holding each other. And that's the energetic fields merging, even though you're not necessarily having intercourse. And so there's this whole world of being close to your partner, stronger, deeper relationship, a higher sex drive, obviously, stronger erections, more masculine force, all of these incredible benefits that come from consciously limiting your physical ejaculation. And that's what semen retention is. The other side of it is sexual energy being your creative force. If you're writing, if you're at work, you have more creative energy to create. Ideas flow to me much more naturally. I'm constantly writing when I'm in a period of long semen retention. Whatever your job is, you will benefit from it. You have less social anxiety. There's none of that, like there's no overthinking. There's just pure confidence in who you are. And that state of being is infinitely more valuable than the 10 to 12 seconds of feel-good pleasure localized on the end of your dick.
Yeah.
And, it's something that I encourage every guy to do, at least try out. The length of which you go is then up to you. The less you do it, the more magnified that these effects will become. I usually do a couple months at a time now. And yeah, it's just a better state of existence. And it's also what enables you to spiritually elevate. This is why monks would swear off sex and things. It's because once it's like the lust and things which bring you down, which is not ideal. But I do believe that there is a space for, divine union with a loving partner where you're about being in the moment with her more so than like, oh, I just want to have sex and go. Like,
right.
It removes that kind of base level out of it. And it's like, okay, I'm in the experience, in the process more. And as I said, all the other benefits, that's what semen retention is about.
Yeah, it sounds very powerful. And I'm definitely curious to read more about it.
You get stronger, you need less sleep.
Yeah.
Like I'll shave like an hour off what I would usually need to sleep. It's really, I always think like, okay, list all those benefits that I just said. If that was in a pill, would you want to take that pill?
Right.
Most people would.
Right.
And all it requires is not ejaculating, which can be tough in the moment, and having the self-control. But then again, you're building your discipline, which is also great. And
why do you come off it?
Sometimes accidents. I'm not perfect with it.
Not a saint.
Now it's like I have pretty good control no matter what's going on, but as you're first getting used to it, sometimes, dang, overshot. But sometimes the release feels good, and it's been a while, and it just feels right in the moment. And, it's very natural also for that to happen. And sometimes it's good to just refresh, clear the pipes out. There's no shame or judge for doing the thing, because it's also a natural human experience, and don't feel bad like, oh damn, I did it, again. And sometimes it just happens.
Yeah. One thing I want to talk about is I think the culture is shifting, but the feeling of having sex is a sacred thing, and if I think about 5 years ago or 10 years ago, it's just oh, let's just hook up with girls as a way of being for how I was thinking about it. And it's this is your life energy. This is your life force. And it's you're coming together with a woman, and what is her energy? It's you're going to pick up all of that.
Yeah.
And it's is this person an energy that you want to live with?
Yeah.
It's no, then don't have sex with that person.
Yeah.
Right?
Sex, sacred energy exchange. The microcosmic orbit that I mentioned as a guy with that energy circuit, that also exists in the woman. And when you join together in intercourse, it's you join the circuits, and whatever she has going on is going to become a part of you. Whatever you have going on is going to become a part of her. It's less invasive for the guy as it is for the girl, because there's the penetrator and the penetratee.
Sure.
Not to, give a pass to guys for the same thing, but it's just something to be aware of. And you could be anxious and depressed because the girl that you just had sex with was in that way. And you've fragmented your sexual energy and your energy field, and you've got these other things coming in. You just can't put your head on it. You're not conscious of it. Because you've connected energy fields with someone that you didn't appropriately vet or know or anything like that. So it's definitely something to be conscious of. And then with semen retention, that kind of helps out in just being that conscious discipline. If you can control that, then you're not as worried about I just need to have sex to do this thing, have this ejaculation, and you become more conscious and disciplined with it. And that is really the root of most success, because a young man, healthy, that's the drive. It was a drive for me. It still is in a lot of ways, but it's not the same thing as it was before, which was unconscious, being blasé with it and not understanding these energetic things that are also happening at the same time. And yeah, as you said, the culture is shifting. I hope the majority of people are against porn for the most part, against the OnlyFans culture, against all of that, because that is fragmenting people's energies to where they're more susceptible to demons, really. And that's no place that anyone should be.
Yeah. I think about it would you, in your right conscious mind, go up to a window of two people having sex and just look inside the window as it's not your business. What makes you, and then to be sitting there and be through a screen, it's a disease in a real way. And I have a lot of compassion for people dealing with that and going through it. But
yeah, I mean, people ask me or have asked me over the years, how do I stop watching porn? How do I stop fapping? And I always say to them, all right, bro, next time you have the urge, get a third person view of yourself, of what's going on. You're huddled in the corner, crouched over this little screen or at your computer, dick out, dick in hand, like a monkey just touching yourself. That's disgusting image. And it's pixels. It's that separation and viewing yourself from the third person, even visualizing it, is oh, okay, right, that's a good mental jarring thing. And it's just ultimately it's a pathetic act. And it's used for a variety of ways, comfort, stress relief, whatever. But if you're hooked into it, as I was as a younger man, it is what it is. It can impact your relationships. It impacts your life in general, gains in the gym, all of these things that we're getting introduced to it at a younger age, for nefarious reasons as well. Like, who's controlling these porn companies? It's like, oh, it's just a business, but really, who's going into that kind of business? It's very strange and a dark force that is really, really accepted for the most part. It's like considered just part of sexuality or whatever, and it's really not something that should be encouraged.
Yeah. Something that should be encouraged is being seen and being appreciated. And you have, for the first time, allowed yourself to be seen. On camera. Look at that beautiful face. It's like he was hiding this beautiful face for so long.
Yeah.
I know you're a very thoughtful guy in terms of how you approach media, in terms of how you approach the world. And I'm curious what went into this decision to reveal your face and to be seen for the first time.
So it felt about time. I have been getting these intuitive signs to work up to that point of the face reveal for several months now. And it's just been an idea. It's been usually the larger projects that I do, obviously it starts in as an idea. I just think about it, and then slowly things will just come into place that it makes sense. So I'm thinking about this. I have the Sol retreat planned, which we did in Yucatan, Mexico in early Jan. And for that retreat, I had a videographer who is an incredible guy, Ewar Woolshot. And he was able to, like, that was going to be an opportunity for me to have a really high quality videographer. And so, like, what better way or opportunity to do something like this? Because I didn't want to just, hey guys, this is Sol Brah, this is me, like, make something out of it. Make a cinematic thing, which is what we did. We made this kind of movie trailer style thing. I'm running through the jungle. It was great fun filming it, and then face shot. It was really fun, and it just felt like time.
Why?
Because, as you said earlier, the energetic connection that I'm able to build and develop through showing facial expressions is so much higher. There was always something with like the blurring that, yes, it's about the ideas and I'm still talking, but you lose some aspect of human communication. You lose that ability to look in the eyes and all the rest of it. So we've got that now. But yeah, I was just intuitively directed to do it around this time. I had the videographer there. It was also Pluto entering Aquarius, which is all about revelations and things like that. So it was a good energetic time to release that. And it's gone phenomenally so far. I've had a lot of people reach out and be like, really happy for you. I feel great doing it. I'm able to do things like this, which was also a limiting factor that I couldn't go on podcasts. I'm like, can you blur my face? And that was a little bit awkward. I can do meetups. It was just at Muscle Beach in Miami with 2 groups on 2 different days, taking photos. It's just allows me to be more myself, I think, rather than hiding myself, being seen in more of me.
How quickly did it take for you to start getting recognized in public?
I was being recognized already before.
I would have,
because like
I would have walked past you.
Probably, you reckon?
I would never have been able to recognize you. I would have walked past you 17 times and have been like,
really?
That's just a good looking dude from Australia.
Yeah.
Then the 18th, I'd be like, yes, that's Sol.
Yeah, maybe. The thing is that I'm usually wearing my brand, Sol Gym. So if I have a shirt on with a sun on it in the middle, or shorts on with a sun on it, and then you have everything else just with the face blurred, people have kind of picked it up.
Yeah.
A couple of people, everyone was really nice, just like, hey, are you Sol Brah? I was like, yeah. Which was also cool. But the clothes usually give me away. Otherwise, if hat on, whatever, it didn't really happen. Also, it depends where I am. Like Miami, I get recognized even more so now, but before then, like a couple of times. LA and Venice Beach, like that seems to be where my audiences congregate around the gyms there. So that's like, yeah, my stomping grounds really.
And what were the limiting beliefs you had to overcome to put your face out there?
I didn't have any.
Hmm.
I didn't have any. It was just how we'd started out, or how I'd started out with wanting the ideas to speak for themselves and not it be about me, the person. More so, it's like, yes, I'm showing my physique because that needs to be validated that I'm talking about health and training and things, but it doesn't need to be about me, the person. It's about the ideas, the philosophies, and the knowledge, really. And then it just got to the point where that can also blend in with who I am.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, one thing that I've always admired about how you've done online stuff is just how everything is branded so well. Like even from the book cover to every piece, anything you put your name on, it's like, bro, it looks amazing. It's something someone's excited to share.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to maybe the perfection that you've instilled from the young age, but also just it's just like you have an aura around you of branding. What can you tell people in terms of how to brand better on the internet?
So everything that I've made is because I think it looks cool. Rick Rubin talks about this a lot, that you just make what you think is cool and design what you think, oh, that looks sweet, or that's not right, that needs to be changed, and then it comes out with a product that other people are like, oh yeah, that's cool. And we had a lot of iterations of the book cover that we had to work through. I'm usually on Photoshop for hours and hours, like moving things around. That's another, like, I wouldn't have been able to do what I've done without my Photoshop skills, which I've been working on since like 13. I'm not particularly advanced, but I can do pretty much everything I want to. And that is very helpful for branding in general. Plus, just allowing the ideas to flow through me. It's like, they're not my branding ideas. You know, I'm not claiming responsibility, because I'm like, okay, so how should I make this label for the Sol Sense? And then I'll think on it, and then it'll appear to me. Am I doing anything? You know, and then it looks awesome. And then there's development and refinement, of course. But again, that refinement is like, how does that feel? How does that look to me? My intuitive sense. I've always had something within me, just blessed to have a sense of what looks good, aesthetics, like taste making. Everyone resonates with what I think looks good. I remember making book reports in year 7 and like just moving the word art around or changing the border to a particular way or spacing it out correctly. And the teacher being like, wow, this looks awesome. Like, it stands out because everyone else has just chucked it on there. So it's always been something that I have an eye for, born with. And then also, you know, refining things until I'm happy with it and just allowing those ideas to flow through me has resulted in the branding stuff. So pursue that for people, whatever you think looks good, whatever you're interested in, and having consistency to create your own design language in a way. I am consistent with fonts across things. So with repetition, people recognize, you know, I have a font for the subs, I have a font for the sense. If I make a title on things like, oh, that looks like a Sol Brah font, like it's consistency with everything you put out and like have some sort of consistency with how you design things. And for me, that's the fantasy element, like dragons and Skyrim and all of these kinds of magical things that contribute to what I'm about, because it's what I grew up with, what I love. And therefore, when it's imbued with that authenticity, it seems to resonate better. And really the clothes is the same. Like, what do I want to wear? Why can't I find shorts that are 4.5 inch inseam that are 100% cotton? Couldn't find them anywhere. All right, well, I'll make some because I wanted it as a mid-20s fitness enthusiast guy. And therefore other fitness enthusiast young guys appreciated the shorts. Once I had a couple of samples and I was happy with it. So making it for yourself, making the best thing you can possibly make, highest quality, not cutting corners, is another big one. With everything that I do, I'm looking for the highest quality and the best thing, because I don't want to use anything less than that. Like, I use everything that I make. So I don't want garbage, and I would feel weird selling garbage, obviously. I would hope everyone does, but some people don't feel bad about selling shitty knockoff stuff. So that's how I tackle the branding and how I create the businesses in general.
Yeah, it's a real gift you have. Like, it truly is, because
Gift, exactly. Like,
it's not something that,
God.
yeah, because just everything, it's from the start, from the moment someone sees a Sol Brah thing for the first time, they're like, oh, this looks good. This looks different in some way. And that's an impressive thing to have.
Although I look back on the stuff I first made and mid.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. It's what I'm making now looks incredible, but I'm sure in 2 years I'd be like, I could have done better. Because I look back 3 years ago when I first started it, like my first podcast album art or whatever, and it's like the Soulcast. The sun is like not shaded properly, and there's no borders, and it looks flat. The picture's low quality, like all that kind of stuff.
I liked it, and I still like it today.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But with my standards that I have,
Yeah.
But the point is more so that because I've been at it for so long, you reiterate and you refine, just as the first song that an artist make isn't going to be as, once they've practiced the skills. So you just have to be at it day in, day out for years with something that you're passionate about, because then you have the energy to actually pursue that for years. Like spreadsheets, I could never get good at spreadsheets because I don't care about it. It doesn't interest me. So I'm not going to spend years on doing it. So with the designing, with the branding, like it's what I love to do. So of course I'm going to spend the most time doing it and practice it for years to get to the point where it has developed into what it is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you first started, did you have any idea that it would be like this someday?
Yeah.
You knew.
I knew. I knew before I even started it.
When did you know?
I just knew that I always had some feeling of wanting to create something online. Once I understood YouTube and saw other people doing this, I was like, whoa. And I saw the potential. I felt the potential. And I just had this seemingly unvalidated belief of anything that I hadn't. It's not like I was practicing every day before I started releasing it. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to do that one day and it's going to be incredible.
Wow.
I don't know where that came from, but then I started to do it, and it was after the first couple of thousand followers that it really was like, oh, I can take this as high as I want. It's validated at that point. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm capable of. I know I can see 20 years down the track. I have this intuition of what I want to build and create. So let's just execute. And then that's what I've done.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to witness it unfold. I remember our first conversation being like, this guy's really special. He's going to build something really amazing. And you talked about gyms all across the world, and you talked about having these retreat centers, and it's really cool to witness it unfold. And I want to ask you about the retreat, because I'm hosting my first retreat this following weekend. And so the episode will be out after, but I'm curious, you've hosted a retreat or many retreats? What?
One retreat and 2 other soul expeditions.
Cool.
So the first 2 were adventures, more so hikes. We were climbing to top of a Swiss glacier and then staying at the top of the glacier on a alpine hut in Switzerland. And then the other one was climbing to the top of Cerro Chirripó, which was the highest mountain in Costa Rica.
Wow.
So first one was on the go, mountain hotels, 2 nights in and out. The second one was a little longer. We had an incredible Airbnb villa thing, and then we went up the mountain, stayed on the top of the mountain, woke up before sunrise, climbed to the top for sunrise, the highest point in Costa Rica. Incredible. Both groups and experiences were some of the most amazing people I've ever met, the most incredible experiences I've ever had. And it really cemented the feeling of how different it is when it's in person.
Yeah.
And as much as you can do online and the incredible impact that you have online, it's always going to be different in person. So the retreat was an extrapolation of that. It was 4 nights in the Yucatan in Mexico. And we had this incredible compound kind of thing, like several buildings on this lake, crystal clear water. And it was set up so that we had 2 days at the retreat, at the place, at the accommodation. And we had a bunch of activities, martial arts, talks from people, jungle expeditions on the day that we weren't there, meditation, breath work, all the things that go into the soul way of life. And people coming in, I think we had about 22 guests, and then 5 of my friends who are experts in their various fields, and they were giving talks and also kind of helping me out to run the whole thing. The retreat overall was the most powerful thing I've ever done in my life so far, because I got everyone together at the start of it and I said, can we just have the highest priority of this whole experience to elevate people as much as we possibly can, to teach them things that they would never come across in any other experience, and just make sure that they can become the best versions of themselves within the context of this retreat. Challenge them, challenge their beliefs, encourage them to do things, foster connections and foster relationships, and being intentional about every single part of that. So we had that in our heads going in. And then people come, and it was, we had incredible food, fresh food, private chef, raw milk, sun, of course, all day, every day, beautiful weather down there, swimming twice a day, fireside chats every night, speeches, all of that experience. And I can confidently say that every person that came was profoundly changed, probably myself even the most, because I had to step up in a lot of ways that I hadn't before. And
like what?
Leadership, and not just leadership some of the time, just like whenever you're there. I was also, I'm not leading the pack every single time. I'm part of it, but it wouldn't be fair to the people that came if I allowed myself to not be the best self in every moment. And that can be tough, to choose that and to be that and to willingly give every bit of energy that you have in the moment when you don't feel like it. But it's always so, so rewarding. Not that it needs to be a reward, but it's always worth it. And that just unlocked a new level of what I thought was possible for me. And also in a way of like, just understanding how my energy field affects other people and consciously manipulating that. And if someone was freaking out, just like, hey, it's all good. Or allowing them to experience those emotions and just holding space for them, being like, I'm not here to judge. I know it is what it is. You're doing this thing, and it has, it's very challenging for people that have never got out of their comfort zone. They haven't run for 2 years. And then I'm like, guys, we all have to go do this run right now. Don't want to hear any excuses. And we're doing it as a group, as a team. The specific run that we did at one point, so I don't know if you've heard about this, but in ancient Sparta, they would send out young cadets, young trainees on these long runs, and they would give them a mouthful of water at the very start. And if they didn't have the mouthful of water in their mouth at the end to spit out, they would beat them. So you had to go on these incredibly hard runs with a mouthful of water in your mouth, only nasal breathe. That was what it was trying to train, but also just the mental toughness of maybe you're thirsty, you have water right here, but you're not allowed to spit it out.
Wow.
So we did that. And it wasn't as intense, and I didn't beat anyone after. But for someone that's, some of the people there hadn't been very active before or recently. And so we did that, and I could see it was hard for them, and they persevered and persisted regardless. and the group's energy and the non-judgmental manner of everything enabled them to break through these barriers themselves that they'd had before. And that's pretty incredible to be able to facilitate that and encourage that. And really, it was a collection of those kinds of experiences which opened my mind up to so much. And like, okay, what is actually possible for me to do at a macro level? And now I want to do even bigger events. Sol Festival.
When is that coming?
Maybe this year, maybe towards the end of summer this year. Still in the works, but that would be something like 500 people, book out a wedding venue kind of similar in the woods somewhere, have DJs, have, all the incredible Twitter brands that we have there with their stalls. It's just like a music festival. I love house music as well. That's like a big passion of mine. To have a festival that's focused on health and wellness and the soul way of life instead of drugs, partying, alcohol. We still want to party, still want to have fun, but the way that it's going to be better off, I think would be a really cool experience for people.
In a high conscious way. Sign me up for Soul Festival.
Yeah. VIP for you.
Appreciate you, bro. I'm really just grateful for the man you are and the lead and example you give to people, because it gives people more permission to be themselves, to be their authentic version of themselves. And it is a real pleasure to watch your journey unfold, to see that we've come from these places and that we're talking about the same things, telling the truth, making sure your body and mind and spirit are in the right place, understanding yourself better to share it with the world. And so I'm really, really grateful for your presence in this world. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to do podcasts with you now that you have your face out there. I really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Where can we send people to connect with Sol Brah some more?
Sol Brah, at Real Sol Brah on Instagram, solbrah.com. If you want to join Soul Club, we have a community where we do events and particular content from me that you can't find anywhere else. So soulclub.me is for that. And otherwise on Twitter, Sol Brah, I'm around. I answer my DMs if you're nice. So yeah, hit me up.
And last final question is, all those are linked down below, as well as check out this man's new book, Expanding Love and Freedom. What's one thing you can give people to expand their own love and freedom in their own life after listening to this podcast episode?
I mean, I think there's hundreds of things within the podcast. What's one more going to do? But I would say take action. You're scared of taking action sometimes because you don't know what the result is going to be, but everything great is on the other side of that fear. And fear is just an activation of energy. And that's all it is. And when you feel that fear, oh, my energy is being activated. And then you just do the thing regardless. And that's going to have a million times more benefits than just thinking about things will. So take action.
Sol Brah, that's it. Thank you so much, bro.
My pleasure.